Good morning, everyone. Topic for my today's lecture is development of occlusion. These are the following contents which we are going to cover. What are the specific learning objectives? By the end of this lecture, you all should be knowing what all the normal changes that does happen during the different phases of development of occlusion, and you should be focusing on the clinical features what you see from infancy till the permanent dentition. Also, how does the relationship between the two jaws establish from infancy till the permanent dentition? This is the introduction. Here, the term occlusion is been derived from the Latin word occlusio, which is defined as the relationship between all the components of masticatory system in function, not dysfunction and parafunction. Now, what do you mean by function? The main function of oral cavity is mastication. When they are in dysfunction means when both the jaws are in rest position, and also parafunction means when any presence of any abnormal oral habit. And occlusion is regarded as a dynamic, not a static. Why? Because dynamic because it goes on changing from infancy till the adulthood. It is not static in nature. Then what are the periods of development of occlusion? First is pre-dentate period, then the deciduous dentition, mixed dentition, and permanent dentition. In today's lecture, we are going to cover about pre-dentate period and deciduous dentition. In pre-dentate period, we are going to talk about gum pads. Now, what are gum pads? The dental alveolar arches before the eruption of teeth are known as gum pads. These are seen from birth till the first teeth erupt in oral cavity, that is 6 months. So these are pink in color, as you all can see, pink in color, form and covered by a dense layer of periosteum. Maxillary arch is horseshoe shape and mandibular arch is U shape. Now these are some of the terminologies which we are going to see here. First is a dental groove. The dental groove divides the dental-alveolar arch into two sections. First is the labial portion and then in the lingual portion. Then comes the gingival groove. Here is the gingival groove which is dividing the dental arches in maxillary arch from the palate and in mandibular arch from floor of the mouth. Then comes the transverse groove. The transverse groove divides the dental arch into 10 segments for each of the 10 primary teeth to erupt into the proper position. Then comes the lateral sulcus. It is nothing but a groove which is present between canine and the first primary molar. This is what the lateral sulcus is. This is of much clinical importance for determining the inter-arch relationship and also intercanine width at an early stage of development. Now comes what are the clinical features of gum pads in pre-dentate period. First you can see what is the size of maxillary arch. The maxillary arch is much wider and greater as compared to the mandibular arch. So you can see the complete overjet. That is, the mandibular arch is completely embedded or covered by maxillary arch in posterior region and in the anterior region as well. Also you can see there is only contact at the molar area between the two arches and open bite in the front region, that is the anterior infantile open bite. It is of the clinical importance in pre-dentate period for infantile suckling and infantile swallowing. Also for the normal tongue position, which you can see here, the tip of the tongue is visible and it is situated in the or rested in between the two lips. Also skeletal class 2 pattern you can see here, because you can see the mandibular arch is more receded position as compared to the maxillary arch. This is what the skeletal class 2 relation is. Now comes the primary dentition. Here we are going to discuss about spacing. Delibir was the first person to discover the spacing which exists in the primary dentition. Two types of spacing we are going to see, that is primate spaces, physiologic spaces. Primary teeth relationship में we will talk about molar relationship, canine relationship and anterior teeth relationship. In arch dimension we are going to discuss about arch size, arch length, arch width and arch circumference. For spacing, what are the primate spaces? The spaces that exist mesial to the canine in maxillary arch and distal to the canine in mandibular arch are the primate spaces. These are also known as anthropoid or the simian spaces. You can see the clinical picture here. Anterior to the maxillary canine, mesial to the maxillary canine and distal to the mandibular canine. These are the primate spaces. Now what are the physiologic spaces? These are the generalized interdental spaces which exist between each of the primary teeth. On an average, they are 4 mm in maxillary arch and 3 mm in mandibular arch. If none of the space exists in primary dentition, then the dentition is called as non-space dentition, which is going to ultimately lead to the crowded dentition in permanent phase. Now, what are the teeth relationship? First, we'll see about molar relationship, anterior teeth relationship, and canine relationship. So, for molar relationship, they are known as terminal planes. What are terminal planes or the molar relationship? Is the relationship between the distal surfaces of maxillary and mandibular second primary molars. Distal surface, the relationship between the distal surface of maxillary and mandibular second primary molar. So, what is flush terminal plane is when the distal surfaces of the maxillary and mandibular primary second molar are in the same plane. You can see in the clinical feature. This is what flush terminal plane is. What is mesial step terminal plane? The distal surface of the second primary mandibular molar is more mesial as compared to the distal surface of second maxillary primary molar. Distal step is the distal surface of the second primary mandibular molar is more distal to the distal surface of the second primary maxillary molar. You can see in clinical picture also. What are the fate of terminal planes? As if what they are going to convert into the permanent dentition. First we'll talk about the flush terminal plane. The distal surfaces of both the molars are in the same plane, what we have seen in flush terminal plane. So it is the most favorable condition we see in most of the cases, that is 74% of the cases. This is going to end in class 1 molar relation in permanent dentition with the shift of the tooth in the mesial direction and some of the forward growth of mandible. Now, what are the shift of the tooth? There are two terminologies, that is late mesial shift and early mesial shift. In primary dentition, we are going to see about early mesial shift. Now, what is early mesial shift? In primary dentition, there is a eruption of first permanent molar during the age of 6 years. So, what does it does? The eruptive force of the first permanent molar pushes the second primary molar into more mesial direction where it occupies your primate space. As if in mandible, it is distal to the mandibular canine. Those are the primate spaces which have been occupied here due to the mesial shift of the second primary molar to the eruptive force of the first permanent molar. That is what early mesial shift is. And the late mesial shift we are going to see in the mixed dentition will be covered later. So, there are two terminologies because of the early mesial shift, and also with the forward growth of mandible, you will see the flush terminal plane converting into the class 1 molar relation in permanent dentition and very minimal chances into end-to-end relation of permanent molars. Next comes the mesial step. This is seen in 14% of the cases. Again with the mesial shift of the molar, early mesial shift of the molar, and with the forward growth of mandible, it is going to lead in class 3 molar relation in permanent dentition and minimal chances for class 1 relation. Then for the distal step, again with the early mesial shift of the molar and the forward growth of mandible, you will see most of the chances leading to the end-on-end relation with the permanent molar relation in permanent dentition and very minimal chances of the class 2 molar relation in permanent dentition. This is what the fate of terminal planes, that what they are going to lead in the permanent dentition molar relationship. Now comes the anterior teeth relationship. Here we are coming across the three terminologies: overbite, overjet, and H2H bite. Now what is overbite? This is nothing but the vertical relationship between the maxillary anterior teeth and the mandibular anterior teeth, which is 2 mm. Overjet is nothing but the horizontal relationship between the maxillary teeth, anterior teeth, and mandibular anterior teeth. This is what the horizontal distance is between the palatal surface of the maxillary canine and labial surface of the palatal surface of the maxillary anteriors and labial surface of the mandibular anterior, which is also 1 to 2 mm. What is H2H bite is when the incisal edges of maxillary anterior and mandibular permanent anterior are in the same plane, or it is known as zero bite. So this was all about the anterior teeth relationship. Then we'll come to the canine relationship. It consists of class 1, class 2, class 3. In class 1 you will see the cusp of mandibular canine. It interdigits in the embrasure between maxillary canine and maxillary lateral incisor. This is what the class 1 relation is. What is class 2? The mandibular canine is more distal to the embrasure between lateral incisor and maxillary canine. And what is class 3? The mandibular canine is in any other relationship as compared to the class 1 and class 2. It can be either mesial or either distal to the embrasure. So this is all about canine relationship. Now we'll come to the arch dimensions. It was first measured by Zsigmondy in 1819. First we'll see about the arch size. Now what is arch size? Here you can see B1 and B2. So arch size is the width between both primary canine and width between the second primary molars. So this is what arch size is, and arch width is also the same, that is B1 and B2, that is intercanine width and bimolar width. Now what is arch length? This is the vertical line which is perpendicular to the tangent to the molars. So this is the line which is starting from the midline of the central incisors coming back perpendicular to the tangent to the posterior surface of the molar. This is the arch length. Now what is the arch circumference? The line passing through the cusp of molars and canine and incisal edges of central incisors and lateral incisors of one side and crossing the other side, again covering the incisal edges and cusp of the canine and molars. This is what the arch circumference is. Now, this was all about the primary dentition. Now, what are the normal clinical features of primary dentition? So, first of all, we have seen the spaces. This is what the primate spaces are between lateral incisor and canine, and between canine and first molar in mandibular arch. Then the interdental spaces. The spaces is existing between each of the teeth in primary dentition. This is the space dentition, that a normal feature of primary dentition or primary period. Now this is what shallow intercuspal digitation. You can see very shallow intercuspal digitation is there in the primary dentition. Also, there is almost no curve of spee. The flat curve of spee you can observe in primary dentition. Then comes the vertical inclination. More of a vertical inclination means more overbite or deep overbite, which is the normal feature in primary dentition. If there is more overbite or deep overbite, the overjet is going to be less. Why? Because when the teeth are in a more proclined position, so overjet increases and so the overbite decreases. But in primary dentition, the overbite is more, that is deep overbite, and so the overjet is less. So these are some of the normal clinical features that we observed in primary dentition. So the spacing, shallow intercuspal digitation or no or almost no curve of spee, and then more of the vertical inclination of the maxillary anteriors, more overjet, less overjet and more of the overbite, and again the terminal planes, what we observe. So this was all about predentate and primary dentition. This is some of the summary. We have covered predentate period and primary dentition. In predentate period, we have seen gum pads, which was horseshoe shape maxillary and U shape in mandible. In primary dentition, we have covered spaces, that is primate spaces and physiologic spaces. What are primate spaces? In maxillary arch, mesial to the canine, and in mandibular arch, distal to the canine are primate spaces. Physiologic spaces are the interdental generalized spaces between each of the teeth. Then comes the teeth relationship. First, molar teeth relationship, in which we have covered flush terminal plane, mesial step, distal step. In anterior teeth relationship, we have covered overjet, overbite and edge to edge bite. In canine relationship, class 1, class 2 and class 3. In arch dimension, we have seen arch width, arch size, arch length and arch circumference. This was all about the predentate period and primary dentition. These are my references. These are some of the important questions with respect to the topic. First is describe the development of occlusion in infancy to the primary dentition. SAQs are primary molar relationship, that are the terminal planes. Fate of the terminal planes, that what the terminal root planes are leading to the molar relationship in permanent dentition. Then the canine relationship, class 1, class 2, class 3. Spaces in primary dentition, primate spaces and physiologic spaces. And gum pad relationship in predentate period. That is only the relationship or the contact point between both the gum pads is at molar region and infantile open bite. You will talk about in this question, and clinical features of primary dentition. Thank you.